Hey guys, Todd Hollowell here, headed home from Lake Okeechobee. Thought I would give you a quick tournament recap from the season opener of the 2018 FLW Tour season. Stop number one at Lake Okeechobee was definitely an interesting week. Big story from a few weeks ago with an accident that happened with a boat trying to cross Lake Okeechobee in big wind, and had boat issues. Both anglers were tossed from the boat. Luckily, one survived, made it to shore. The other one not so fortunate. This particular event was dedicated in memory of Nick Kaler, who was lost at sea that day. So this week was very interesting as well, as big winds started building through the week, and our tournament director made the main lake off limits. And so when you put 187 boats flying around the rim canal and trails and little passes and cuts and stuff like that, it just makes for a very dangerous situation. And unfortunately, we had another boating accident this week, and one of my friends was involved in it, and a couple of acquaintances, guys that I know, are recovering. Everybody survived, but definitely a dangerous place. So the first thing from me to you guys that are headed to Lake Okeechobee, please slow down and use caution. You know, I'm an insurance agent by trade and typically drive very conservatively when I'm behind the wheel of my boat. Honestly, I'm surprised things like this don't happen more often. But it's fair. I think you're going to hear a lot of safety precautions and new things being talked about over the next few weeks. And certainly this last month or so at Lake Okeechobee has brought a lot of things to light. And so hopefully we can all learn from that and become wiser and safer. So on to the fishing. Big hurricane came through last fall of 2017, and it really tore up the lake, ripped up a lot of the outside hard lines. But I tell you, Lake Okeechobee is such a cool place. It's one of the first places my dad took me when I was 8-9 years old, shiner fishing. Fell in love with it, but boy, it's a different lake, and it just seems like the clean water areas get smaller and smaller. I've been coming here for the last 6 years or so, fishing tour events, and the clean water areas just really keep getting smaller. There were not very many areas on the lake that were holding fish. It just seemed like every corner of the lake had one little area where all the boats were piled up in, and you just kind of hope you claim the right little stretch and hit it at the right time. So for me, I tried to just understand how the wind was going to blow and fish in areas that I felt were going to be protected, and I thought I chose one of those areas. I kind of misread the weather report. I saw heavy north wind both days, and tried to pick an area that I felt would be protected from a north wind both days. And so as it turned out, the wind switched out of the east on day one. At about lunchtime, it started blowing muddy water right in off the lake, right into where I was fishing. And so on day one, I was very fortunate. I caught most of my weight before that, and had ended up weighing in 15 pounds. Day two, I knew I was in trouble and was going to have to move to a different area, and did that, and just wasn't able to capitalize on a couple of bites that I had on day two. So I ended up having two fish for like 8.5 pounds. Had a nice 5.5 pounder, had a 3 pounder, lost a couple similar sized fish, and a few keeper bites. Definitely had the opportunities to make the cut at Okeechobee for the second time, and just wasn't meant to be. And to add insult to injury, I miscalculated my run time. I was coming from a new area, and I miscalculated my run time and was 6 minutes late. So it didn't cost me money or anything like that. Points not concerned, because we've already qualified for the 2018 Cup, and thankful for that. So it's just kind of one of those things where you shrug it off and move on to the next one. But how I caught them this week, Okeechobee is you really just need some simple tools here to cover water and get around fish. And for me this week, I like to cover a lot of water with a swim jig. I was using a 3/8 ounce Yankum custom tackle swim jig. I was using a couple of different colors based on lighting and water clarity, that kind of thing. But black and blue, staple at Okeechobee. But the main color for me was a bluegill colored swim jig that Wally makes at Yankum. It's got a little orange in it. I don't know if they think it's a tilapia or a shiner or brim or whatever. They seem to really like it at Okeechobee, and a lot of guys have been catching them on it this year. So 3/8 swim jig, that was key. Caught some on a worm, you know, when I would slow down in certain areas. Just a trick worm, and caught some fish on a topwater prop bait. That was really a big thing for me on day 2. That's what I caught all my fish on. Really had an opportunity to have a big bag, but anyways, that's the fishing report. So if you're headed to Lake Okeechobee, you've really got to find those small areas of protected clean water, settle down, settle into those areas, and just milk them for all they're worth. So guys, thanks for tuning in. That wraps up the first event of the tour season. We're back at the Harris Chain in 3 weeks for stop number 2, and I'm ready to get redemption. I'm ready to shake this Florida monkey off the back. So thanks for tuning in. Be safe out on the water. Use caution. Be a defensive driver. Slow down when you get into neck down. Slow down when you get into high traffic areas. Put your head on a swivel. Have your partner with the head on a swivel. Safety first. Be careful. Catch big fish, and we'll check in next time. Have a good day.